Welcome to the inaugural episode of the OnealReel, O'Neill's first student news broadcast. I'm Connie McKeithen.
And I'm Garrett Graham. Every other week, we'll share campus updates, interviews with members of our community, updates on student life, and more.
This week, Noah and Josh check in with Maya and Will, the O'Neill student athletes.
Marcus will share information about the new volleyball club, and Andres interviews the legend, Dr. Miller.
We'll hear feedback about class trips, and you'll meet the OnealReel crew. Let's get started. First up, let's check in with Noah and Josh. Noah also had a chance to visit with Maya Beasley. Maya is on the varsity golf team. Coach Harlow is impressed with Maya and is happy to be working with this athlete.
Hello, I'm here with Maya Beasley, a student athlete, not an ordinary athlete. Student comes first, and she does excel well in her classes. Today we're here to talk about the successes she has in her classes and in her profession. So, what would you say is the inspiration for you playing the sport that you do?
My biggest inspiration would probably be my dad, because we would just go to the range sometimes and I'd see him hit it and I'd be like, oh, I want to do that. And so I think he's probably my biggest inspiration.
Touch my heart right there. What would you say is the most difficult about training?
Probably the most difficult part is the mental side, because golf is very mental and you can really get into your head about things. And so you also have the physical part, but it's also about the mental aspect of it, and I think that's the hardest part about golf.
Okay. Going on about mental, what mentality do you keep while you're playing golf?
Just kind of it's a game. It's supposed to be fun, so just treat it that way, and it's not the end of the world. If you have a bad score or something like that, you can always come back from it.
Okay. Well, there you have it, guys. Maya Beasley on the Noah Harrington Show.
Wait a minute. The Noah Harrington Show? Nice try, Noah. The girls' varsity golf team is ranked first in the state. Maya's currently third in the state, and O'Neill is looking ahead for their next home match, October 5th at number 6.
Last week, clubs were announced for the upper school. Let's check in with Marcus and Mr. Field to learn more about the volleyball club.
Who thought of the idea of making a volleyball club in the first place?
So this was brought to me by Trey Black, and he wanted a time period where he and a bunch of his buddies could play, because there's no men's volleyball team, so he thought a club would be best.
How are you planning on running your club?
It's a good question. So we'll meet on Tuesdays like all the other clubs do, or at least those assigned clubs. And what we are looking to do is to have a volleyball court set up on the backside of the building. Mm-hmm. And we'll get some sand laid down, some nets put up, and those kinds of things. So the club itself will simply be going outside and playing volleyball.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
We look forward to seeing the new volleyball court.
Last week, Andres had a chance to interview an O'Neill legend, Dr. Miller. Dr. Miller may be an O'Neill icon, but he has some pretty interesting hidden talents, and Andres had a chance to find out more.
Welcome to Student Teacher of the Week, and today we have special guest, Dr. Miller. So, how long have you been teaching history?
Well, 10 years after I came to O'Neill, I switched from English to history. That was 15 years ago.
Oh, wow, that's a long time, Dr. Miller. How long have you been at O'Neill?
This is actually my 24th year this year. Actually, it was 14 years.
Are we going for 30 years?
Gosh. I don't know.
What did you go to college for?
Well, my degrees were in English and American literature.
Did you stay in North Carolina?
I did for the bachelor's and the master's. I went to UNC and then NC State, UNC Chapel Hill and then State, and for the doctorate, University of South Carolina at Columbia.
That's interesting. That's cool. We also heard about you drumming. Tell us about your passion.
I have honestly loved the instrument since I was old enough to know what it was. I don't remember taking the pots out of the cabinet and kind of lining them up, but I was told that I did.
All right, Dr. Miller, thank you for your time. That
Thank
wraps
you.
it up, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Miller. We hope you'll consider playing at the Fall Coffee House, maybe a duet with Mr. Lucier.
Class trips may have looked a little different this year, but it sounds like a good time was had by all. Let's hear from a few upper school students from about their favorite moments.
My favorite thing about class trips was playing volleyball tournament.
My favorite part of class trips was seated volleyball in the lake.
I guess my favorite part of the Camp Caraway field trip was the lake. I just got to hang out with my friends in an environment outside of school, and it was, I guess, fun.
My favorite part about class trips was probably the swimming in the lake, because there were so many I guess different things you could do. So it was just good to pick what you want to do.
My favorite part of the class trip was when we got to climb up to the top of the mountain and eat s'mores. I also really enjoyed pushing myself, and even though I'm afraid of heights, going down that slide.
So, where are we headed next year?
Well, if the students had their way, it looks like we'll be heading to places like New York City. And if they were granted their dream trips, it sounds like you might find a few of us in Disney World.
I guess you have to wait and see.
Well, that's it for our first episode. We look forward to being back in 2 weeks with updates from Fall Ball, a Student of the Week, and information about additional clubs.
Stay tuned.